concerns are rising across Europe that the United States may be preparing to significantly scale back or even fully withdraw its involvement in the Ukraine conflict. According to a report by Bloomberg, Western European leaders are increasingly becoming uneasy as diplomatic signals from Washington grow more unpredictable. Officials fear that President Donald Trump could ultimately strike a deal with Moscow, which would leave Kyiv's remaining backers to manage the conflict without US military, intelligence, or security support. One Western European official quoted by Bloomberg described the worst-case scenario as a full US withdrawal, the lifting of pressure on Russia, a ban on the use of US weapons by Ukraine, and an end to intelligence sharing. The anxieties intensified after Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, traveled to Moscow on December 2nd. The two met with President Vladimir Putin to discuss potential pathways toward a settlement. Putin described the talks as necessary and useful, though he rejected parts of the US proposal. Trump, for his part, said the negotiators left Moscow confident that both sides want to see the conflict end. A latest report added that European leaders were further rattled by Trump's release of a 33-page national security strategy. The document warned that Europe risked being wiped away unless it overhauled its politics and culture. It accused European partners of maintaining unrealistic expectations regarding the conflict and displaying a lack of self-confidence in dealing with Russia. The strategy also emphasized that the United States remains open to structured diplomatic channels with Russia when such engagement is aligned with broader American interests. As one former UK defense attaché to Moscow and Kyiv, John Foreman, told Bloomberg,
"The risk remains that the US walks away from the whole issue and leaves it up to the Europeans."
Inside the EU, the unease is compounded by stalled efforts to use roughly €260 billion in frozen Russian central bank assets held at Euroclear. According to news reports, Belgium has demanded strong safeguards, Hungary has blocked earlier plans, and Washington opposed fully seizing the funds. German politician Friedrich Merz argued that the money should remain under EU control and support European priorities. Meanwhile, diplomatic tensions are also playing out on the Ukrainian side. Axios reported that President Vladimir Zelensky had a difficult phone conversation on December 6th with US negotiators Witkoff and Kushner. The call reportedly focused heavily on territorial issues, particularly Russia's demand that Ukrainian forces withdraw from parts of Donbass, which Ukraine continues to occupy, a condition that Kyiv has rejected. Axios said while the US side has been trying to develop new ideas to bridge the issue, the discussion over territory was especially challenging. Zelensky later took to X and described the call as long and substantive, emphasizing that Ukraine remains determined to keep working in good faith with the American side to genuinely achieve peace. It's worth noting that the call followed Witkoff and Kushner's meeting with Putin in the Kremlin. According to Russian presidential aide Yuri Ushakov, the conversation, though marked by disagreements, was very useful and constructive. During a subsequent trip to India, Putin reiterated Russia's stance, telling local media that Russian forces would push Ukrainian troops out of Donbass by force if they refused to withdraw. He has previously stated that any lasting settlement would require Ukraine to recognize Russia's new borders and abandon its bid for NATO membership in favor of permanent neutrality. Taken together, the latest developments paint a picture of a rapidly shifting diplomatic landscape. With Europe anxious about Washington's next moves, Kyiv facing difficult conversations with US negotiators, and Moscow signaling firm red lines, the search for a viable path toward peace remains fraught and uncertain.